Okay, now I'm going to look at Nas. Nas, rapper from Queens, New York, got his start in the 90s and is known to this day as one of the greatest rappers of all time. And we are going to start off with his debut album, Illmatic. This came out in 1994. And this right here is the 10-year anniversary Illmatic Platinum series. So this again is the 10-year anniversary. I remember around the same time I got the Biggie Ready to Die 10-year anniversary, so that makes sense. And my favorite song on here is definitely Life's a Bitch. A lot of people say this is one of the greatest albums of all time, and Nas's highlight early in his career. But as much as this is a classic album, there are a number of Nas albums I like quite a bit better than this one. Personal preference. So I did have an original copy with the red disc, but just became in really poor condition, and I just had to get a new copy. So that's the original, and then here is a second disc where you have 1, 2, 3, 4 remixes and 2 other songs called On the Real and Star Wars. Rings a bell, but I really can't tell you too much about those songs. So I know I'm not the only one, but still somewhat of a controversial opinion is that 1996's It Was Written is a better album than Illmatic. I love the intro, the message, Street Dreams, I Gave You Power. You just go track for track. This album does kind of have a one-tone feel to it, but in a way that I think is beneficial. If I Ruled the World. My favorite one on here is definitely Take It in Blood. Okay, number 3, 1999's I Am. I remember this was received very positively when it came out, but I always found this kind of an unremarkable album. My number one song on here is definitely Favor for a Favor with Scarface. And that would be followed up shortly after with Nostradamus. 1999, many people consider it his weakest album, or at least the weakest album of what was considered his prime years. And again, I don't think this album is bad by any means, but yes, looking at this, there's no standout songs to me. But he would return in strong form in 2001 with Stillmatic. This might be my personal favorite Nas album. So it's very well known for having the song Ether, which is the Jay-Z diss. And I remember hearing that for the first time on the radio, actually. Kind of like a world premiere thing, late night on the local hip-hop station. And it was just kind of a cool thing to hear for the first time while driving home. And this reminds me of a lot of things. It came out my last year of high school. It's the year I met my wife. Came out around Christmas. I think about Christmas. I think about high school. I think about a couple friends from back in that time. Just brings me back. But I love the intro, Stillmatic, The Flyest with AZ, Destroy and Rebuild. I like Rule. Again, there's actually quite a few skips on here, but it's still kind of what you asked me is my favorite Nas album. I'll probably tell you this one. "2002, God's Son." I feel like it's somewhat of a forgotten album. It took me a couple years to get around to buying it, actually. But once I did, I was happy that I did. This was a really good one. I like the opener, Get Down, Last Real One Alive, and especially Book of Rhymes. and Revolutionary Warfare. Next one up, 2004, Street's Disciple. This is a double album. And I thought this overall was really good. What are my favorite ones on here? Just a Moment, Suicide Bounce, Street's Disciple, the title track, Remember the Times, and the closer, Me and You. This here is 2006's Hip Hop is Dead. This was the final Nas album that I ever bought. It was good, but my musical tastes were just changing ever since I got into my mid-20s. My interest in hip-hop has only declined, but I still keep an eye on what's going on and definitely listen to the classics when I can. I think my favorite one on here is Black Republican with Jay-Z. So now we're going to look at a couple of Nas-related projects. This one here is called Nas and Ill Will Records presents Queensbridge, the album. So this is a compilation album put together by Nas with many Queensbridge rappers. Some you know, some will be new to you. But you have the Bravehearts, Nature, Nas is all over it. Mobb Deep's on a couple songs. And again, some lesser known names, but I felt like this one, it plays like an album. I'd probably give this a 4 out of 5. Another Nas related project was this, The Firm. This was a group album. It's Nas, Foxy Brown, AZ, and Nature. And the beats were produced by Dr. Dre and the Trackmasters. So this was not only, hottest producer in the game, Dr. Dre, with one of the best rappers of the time, Nas, East Coast and West Coast collaboration when there were still tensions out there. But this album did not do well. Not only did it not sell great, but I don't think people really think of this as a great album. And you know what? I can't remember the last time I listened to it. My recollection is that it's fine, but definitely I'm interested in putting this aside and checking it out. There's a couple labels involved: Aftermath, Interscope, Trackmaster, Def Jam, Violator, and a couple others that I'm unfamiliar with. So I mentioned that you have AZ and Nature on here. I have a solo album each by them. So we're going to start off with Nature, For All Seasons. This one came out 2000, Columbia Trackmaster. This album did not get the recognition that I thought it deserved, but I thought it was pretty good overall. And I think The Ultimate High with Nas is definitely the highlight of the album. And finally, we got a really good one here. This is Asiatic by AZ. AZ was always affiliated with Nas, but I don't believe he was from Queens. I'm pretty sure he's from Brooklyn. And I forget the title of the albums, but his material prior to this was excellent. And this one here is the only one I ever have on CD, but I like the opener once again. A1 performance. The Essence with Nas is the clear highlight. Fan mail's good. Yeah, definitely some introspective songs, some club songs, some lyrical songs, some more simple songs. AZ is a very underrated rapper, and I totally recommend you check him out. And that's it for today. My Nas collection, a couple other things. See you next time.